Workshop to order. It's Tuesday, November 9th. It is 2 o'clock. I've asked Commissioner Adamczak to do the invocation. Commissioner Turner to do the pledge. Please rise if you're able to do so.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all to this place to basically to allow you to guide us in our decision making, to allow you to guide us in how we interact with our community, to drive those things that we do and decide here in your honor. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Adamczak, Commissioner Turner. Public comment period on agenda items. Anybody in the public would want to speak on agenda items? Seeing nobody rushing to the diocese. Next.
That one is supposed to be 2:05.
I get it.
You just gave me that look of disappointment.
Okay. We're going to take a 3-minute recess. Order, thank you. It's 2:05. We have a 2:05 certain Port Authority workshop. So we're going to recess our Board of County Commission meeting, regular workshop, and go to the Port Authority workshop and convene that. Do we have any public comment on Port Authority? Anybody here speaking? Okay. And seeing no public comment, we'll go to general discussion. Mr. Turner, you wanted to bring up a topic called Newcastle?
Well, yes, sir, I did, but I don't know what to do. I mean, it's one of them situations where we're just don't have enough information on it, the best that I can tell. I don't have any answers. I met with the attorney and the staff during the lunch break, and I don't know that any of us came up with any answers or where to proceed. So I just don't see where Putnam County's gonna be a player in it as much as it bothers me. That's all I have.
Mr. Ross, you have a comment?
I was just talking to Rich. When I got this from Mr. Hoteling, I forwarded it to him and asked him to look in to see if there's any other encumbrances on the property. And he's saying that it's gonna take too much time to be able to figure that out. One of two things is gonna happen. The bank is gonna end up being the highest and best bidder, or they've already got a deal cut on the side with somebody like St. John Shipyard maybe. I'd reach out to Steve Gano and see if maybe they're working the wings, but it doesn't sound like we're gonna have a seat at the table right now, but if the bank does end up with it, I think at that point, we should aggressively pursue them. You know, they do get CRA credits. They could take some of those for any losses that they have, and we always have eminent domain if we have to.
I don't know if I'd want to go down that route. That would be an expensive proposition.
But if we're gonna have any kind of port activity out there, you're gonna have to have that property, because right now you don't have enough width to do a whole lot.
All right, is there any other comments on that? Is there any other general discussion on any other topics for Port Authority Workshop? And hearing none, we're gonna adjourn the Port Authority Workshop, reconvene the Board of County Commission meeting, and I've been asked to move up the constitutional request. So item C, we have somebody that has another appointment they need to get to. So let's move to item C under constitutional request, tax collector request for the return of portion of the excess revenue, page 18 in your agenda. Brenda, is that you? Okay.
Good afternoon, Brenda Bridges, Putnam County Tax Collector's Office. So the request is pretty simple. By statute, our office operates, basically, we're self-employed. We operate off of the fees that we collect, and at the end of the year, we return any excess revenue we have over to the board. Each office has been affected in some manner by either supply chain issues or a problem with getting work done. So we have some items we need to do. All three of our offices are growing because we operate off of fees. The first few months we operate off of advances that we request from the board. Typically our revenue stream doesn't really hit until after the first of the year, so we are requesting a $200,000 return of excess revenues.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner.
Brenda, on the three buildings that y'all are essentially wanting to try to work on, the three offices, do y'all have a long-term lease of some kind where the landlord couldn't basically evict you with the new upgrades and renovations? Do y'all have some kind of a longer-term lease, at least a year or two or something?
So the leases are currently held by the Board of County Commissioners for the Crescent City and Interlochen office. And in talking with the City of Crescent City and the current property manager of the Interlochen office, they hope to see us there for a very long time. So they're happy with the offices being there. They're happy to have the services in those ends of the county. So
You don't know what the term of the lease is?
they're typically 4 or 5 year leases
there are-
maybe, and they're renewed every.
I can look them up for you. I believe that the one in Interlochen has a couple of years remaining. If you give me a few seconds.
We have a couple of years with a possibility of renewal or whatever at that point, then I really don't have a lot of heartburn with this at all, but I just didn't want it to be a month-to-month lease and all of a sudden then they find somebody else and ask you to leave.
Yeah, I have talked with the property manager in Interlochen. That property actually sold a year or so ago, and he's trying to give us more space. Yeah, they want us to be there for a long time.
That's all I have, yes, sir.
Brenda, I have a question for you. On the Interlochen one, so the lease is in the favor of the county. So the Board of County Commissioners hold the lease, and then you occupy the building, basically. I guess, let me word this properly. Doesn't the landlord do the improvements if we were trying to get more? And if he doesn't, shouldn't we follow county procurement guidelines as far as what that, because we had to
So the-
redo, the reason I ask you that, we had to do the Ag Center over on Yelvington Road for USDA, and we did the improvements and they rented them back from us. So I guess that was my question.
I think
The lease agreements are very specific. They only cover certain items, like the roof, AC units, those types of things. They don't take care of any renovations or additions. Now, there are some opportunities if you are renting new space. A lot of times the property owner will offer you either a discount for you to do the renovation to take that space off of your lease. But no, the city of Crescent City and the property manager and interlocking, anytime we've had work done, we've actually contacted those entities and had to get permission from them for the work that we do. But we are just growing leaps and bounds, and some of the work is, network, different things like that. But we are, in order for us to keep making money,
in
we
most
need to
instances.
expand a little bit.
Mr. Adams, that?
So the bottom line is, you get the 200 grand back, you do your work, and then you end up having overage next year, just comes back to us.
It comes back to you.
So-
Mr.
Just a
Wall?
reinvestment.
I've been saying for a while, I think you guys are in the wrong location. You're in the middle of a business district. I personally would like to see that more of a pedestrian entertainment district for shopping, entertainment, dining, whatever. You're in a very small building. We're not getting smaller as a community, and you're gonna be hosting a lot more of the public as we grow. I think at some point, the conversation really needs to point to where you're gonna land in the future, and not spend a lot of money on that building. You'll have a lot of challenges in that building. Aside from your roof, you've got that old antiquated chilled water system that sucks the door closed, upstairs, and
Right.
so
So we're not talking about any structural changes to the Palatka office. A lot of things that we're doing for
what
any of you
I'm
that
what I'm
have,
proposing is structural changes in a different location.
yeah.
I
Well,
think it would,
I think that's a long way down the road.
it probably should be sooner than later, if we start playing our cards right, because you're in an area that could impact the downtown district in a negative way with what the city of Palatka has going on. Worst possible place to be is in the middle of, imagine having a tax collector office in the middle of St. George Street in St. Augustine. That would be kind of a buzzkill.
Yep. I appreciate those comments. I know our office works hand in hand. Our customers are also the same customers that need to see the clerk of court's office and the property appraiser's office.
No, I
So,
agree, but I have to go there every now and then to renew my 20-something tags and vehicles and trailers, and parking's a challenge. And I
yeah,
just think that as the city starts to do their thing, that's gonna become more of a challenge.
Right. Thank
Mr. Turner, you have the floor?
Okay, I don't think it's unusual at all for, people to have to do their own leasehold improvements. I don't think that's unusual at all. If it's done up front, it's usually done as an incentive of some time to get you to move into the building, so. But in most instances, in order for it to be a sound business decision, you have to have so much time in there to offset the cost of those, upgrades and interior renovations, so. As long as we have a couple of years minimum on each one of those leases, I still don't have heartburn with it.
The last one I found recently expires next year, with potential renewals, but I am not confident that I have the most up-to-date leases. I would feel better if that's some information that you need, that you give me a few minutes to try to find.
Julianne, I need to ask you again, so 81,000 in interlocking for improvements. Does that come through our county procurement code?
if we did the project, yes, it would. If they do the project, no, there's no involvement. Does that
But we rent the lease is under us.
I understand, but if they are paying the
It's
the
totally
vendor, they are
separate.
engaging the vendor, and it would not in this relationship, it would not come through us. If we were housing the dollars and running the project, at that point, it would come through us.
Okay. So what do you need, a few minutes to research? Is that what you just asked for?
If you need a final answer on the term of the leases for each office, I do need
I
a few
just
minutes.
wanna make sure, and, you know, if we've got sounds to me like property appraiser wants to continue there, and unless there's been some indication that they're not gonna
Yeah.
renew, and it's their intent to renew whenever it comes time, then I don't know if it's that big an issue, as long as it's not a month to month, and it sounds like we have a real lease on both those facilities.
I believe you do have a real lease on both of those facilities. The amount of time remaining on each of them, like I said, one of them expires next year for Crescent City. And then,
Probably has an option to renew, doesn't it?
Yes.
if it doesn't, I'm sure that a renewal would be available typically. And then I believe I looked at the interlocking one not too long ago, and it had maybe 2 years remaining.
Yeah, it was just renewed maybe a
Recently?
year and a half ago because the property had sold.
Are you adding any space to either office?
So we're not adding any space right now. There is a possibility for interlocking, but if we do that,
It'd be
that
a
would
new
be down the
lease.
road, and it would be a separate,
Okay.
yeah.
So the
I'm
county's.
probably okay, if they've got solid leases that are active, they probably could renew, I would imagine they could, renew at a set pace, so I'm probably all right with it.
What does that mean? You ready to make a motion?
Yes, sir, I move that we send this approval of the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Second.
Got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Adamsek. Any further discussion of moving this item to the consent agenda at next meeting? All in
Just
favor, signify
If
by.
we could have the
Go ahead,
further
Mr.
discussion, if we just have that lease information for that meeting, obviously we'll have it, but might as well put it out there.
Okay,
That'd be great.
I agree. Good deal.
Thank
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you, Miss Brenda, for coming today. Why don't we just go ahead and knock the sheriff out, not physically.
Want to rephrase that?
That was an accurate statement, bring him on up there and let's knock him on out.
Okay, that does not make the front page. Knock
Here we
him-
go.
Well, if I had known that, my police athletic league director just brought me a set of boxing gloves. that he
No,
presented me
no.
From the boxing
I'd pay to
tournament
watch
this
that.
weekend. I should have
No,
brought
you
one
don't
with
need
me,
them
I
yet,
guess.
but about 5-10 minutes you might.
Larry's beyond that. Sheriff, thank you, and we're not knocking you out. I'm sorry. We're just,
That's quite all right. So the item that's before the board today is the carryover of the remaining funds from the previous year's budget. I'd had some discussion with a couple of the commissioners prior to today who'd asked for essentially a little more detail. So the total amount that we're requesting, and I did not bring my agenda up here. I don't think, let me grab it real quick. So the total amount is $1,115,932.77. And I think it's probably worth mentioning that item B is included in that amount. So I would ask that you consider them together. If I can just give you a quick rundown of what that covers. That's essentially carryover from our grants, one of which is listed below. And then there are multiple others. And the reason for that is because the federal government's fiscal year does not run concurrent with ours. It ends at a separate time. So it requires that we carry that specific amount over from one fiscal year to the other. An additional $247, we'll call it roughly $250,000 of that rollover money, so to speak, is actually a payment that we just received from Crescent City just a couple of weeks before the fiscal year closed out for law enforcement services in Crescent City. So we'll need that money to continue to provide those services there for them. Unfortunately, they made a payment right towards the end of the fiscal year to carry them through the next several months. So that's why you see that particular amount on there. Additionally, there is, as it stands right now, $388,000, give or take a few $100s, in outstanding purchase orders right now. And I can probably go into more detail, but the majority of all that is cars and equipment for vehicles, a $91,000 ammunition order that I hope we will get here in the near future. IT infrastructure improvements, laptops, desktops, monitors, things of that nature, and that brings us to the remaining $347,000 out of that total figure that's listed on the agenda today. These are projects and purchases that are not yet encumbered, some of which we actually got bids for, and or vehicles we tried to purchase this past year, but unfortunately, because of issues with the COVID-19 pandemic, the automobile manufacturers told us they were not able to deliver on, so we never were actually able to pull those purchase orders. The remaining portion of that is to repair a significant portion of our fencing that's actually associated with a portion of the old jail that ties into where the new jail property is. Unfortunately, some of that barbed wire post and concertina wire over time has deteriorated to the point that it presents a potential security risk if it goes unmaintened any longer and requires our immediate attention. There's some additional expenses with some air conditioners that have to be replaced that have long since served their useful life and have to be replaced. Should have brought my glasses in. I don't have my best eyes on. There is additional vehicles that to be purchased, and another large expenditure that was included in that was the acquisition of what's called a Draco gas system, which is used in conjunction with the Bearcat that we purchased out of federal forfeiture money that had to be canceled because they weren't able to deliver it because of supply demands. That accounts for everything remaining with the exception of about $50,000 that is yet unencumbered, and I would ask the board to return that additional $50,000 so that we could use it towards that 116, give or take, $1,000 budgetary shortfall that we experienced this year.
And Mr. Turner, you had your light off, sir?
Couple of questions. I meant to ask you this yesterday, Gator. We've kind of got cut short, had to go back into a meeting.
Sure.
Do you have any excess funds on your Crescent City deal, or does it cost the county money for you to do law enforcement at Crescent City?
I think it would be fair to say that it doesn't cost the county any money, but we don't make any money off of that deal either.
Okay.
It's bare bones, and what it cost us is what it cost them.
Okay, so you try to tailor that to at least a break-even level as much as possible?
That's where we got to, and we didn't fluff or add any extra padding to it, so to speak.
You say that you want to purchase some new vehicles this year, that for this coming year. Wouldn't that be in your current budget for this coming year instead of us having to roll money over to buy vehicles in next year's budget?
Well, yes and no. I don't know that there's going to be enough money for us to, either way, if we were to do either scenario, for us to fully equip our fleet with all the purchases that we need to make. As it stands right now, we've got just shy of 25 vehicles with in excess of 150,000 miles on them. And ideally, in a perfect world, if we can get 115 to 120,000 miles out of a patrol car, it doesn't owe us anything. So, you know, you figure roughly $45,000 per car and equipment. Simple math, 10 cars is $450,000. They're expensive, unfortunately.
You had mentioned a minute ago that you didn't receive your Bearcat that you had gotten the federal funding to buy because they couldn't give it to you?
No, we do have the Bearcat. What we're missing is the gas deployment system that we're buying out of general funds. It's not an insignificant purchase, but I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel, but I think it was $15,000, give or take, roughly.
Bearcat's
just
no
trying to
phone
give
with
you
no
a-
gas.
Mhm.
Can't have any fun with a Bearcat with no gas.
Well, yeah, I get that.
I was just trying to give you more of an itemized picture of what what our expenditures look like out of this money.
Okay.
I'm good for now, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, what's your pleasure?
We're looking to take action on this today or move it to a consent agenda?
Send it to consent agenda.
I'd move that we move it to the consent agenda.
Okay. Proper motion by Commissioner Rawls, proper second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it.
Okay,
Now, the
thank you very
motion
much.
was just we're gonna send the 91,125, which they requested after the county keeping the 985,647. That's what we're sending after they give back the 91,125, which is what the request was.
Whatever the request.
You gonna modify that, or you gonna,
Well, that's what the request was on the agenda.
request is one,
No, it's not. Look in the, actually read the second paragraph.
Yeah,
are
second
are you
paragraph.
asking for the 1 million
Yeah.
or the 900?
Well, the
985,647.
985,647 and whatever change it is, yes.
Okay,
Is that the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, is that your second, Commissioner Adams? Sure. Okay, good. And that's everybody's vote?
I'm good.
Good, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, we'll go to next
real
item.
quick though, Gary, did that include the 50,000?
Yes, that does. The
80-something.
That includes the 50?
985,647
Okay, I thought the
includes
50 was on top
the
of that.
remaining $50,000 that's unaccounted for or unencumbered.
And that included item B, as you said, too.
Yes, it
That's
does.
included in the 980.
The 985,647 and
Yeah.
73 cent or whatever the change was on it.
Okay.
Good deal, thank you.
Thank
B
you.
we've already dealt with too.
Okay, so B's done. Let's go up to item A, administration, page 3 to 9, San Mateo, God's Country, cell tower lease negotiation.
We've got that.
Is that right?
That's right.
That's right. Who's got that?
I do. AT&T has reached out to us related to the cell tower or the tower that we have located at 121 Asia Road. They currently have, they are currently on our tower with a cell receiver. And that current lease agreement expires in 2025. But they are attempting to revamp their network and build out their network. And so they're asking to go ahead and pre-negotiate the new lease so that they know whether or not they're going to have a tower location come 2025. According to them, it takes some substantial amount of time to build out their network. So if they're not going to have the ability to go ahead and secure this lease, they stated they would look for alternative locations in order to complete their network within Putnam County. What their offer is, base rent is there is $27.6138 a month, and an escalation of 7.5% at 60-month intervals, a minimum of 15-year lease, up to a 30-year lease would make them happy based on, and staff's just seeking board direction as to what you'd like us to negotiate with AT&T.
Yeah, I have some questions. And Mr. Adams, you got the floor, sir?
What's the current lease rate?
$27.61 and 38 cents.
So it's basically renewing with the same terms.
That's correct. There would not, the only difference is currently you have an escalation at every renewal period. There would not be an escalation between 2025 and the new lease term. Then you would have an escalation of 7.5% from there on at the renewal terms every 60 months.
Okay, Julianne, my question is, us having this conversation about towers and stuff, what's the life of this tower? Do we know that for as far as, I mean,
I got to turn that question over to JR maybe.
because they want a 15-year and then a 30-year, and, I mean, I don't know what the life of that tower might be, and that was a concern of mine.
I don't know exactly what the life expectancy of the tower is, but they did structural engineering on it, and it's well within its normal operating limits of what currently is hung on the tower. So I think that tower was put in it's either 86 or 93.
Okay.
So, and it's, I mean, there's nothing structurally in the structural reports that said that the tower there is got anything wrong with it, so.
Good, thank you. Mr. Rawls, you have the floor.
As far as the escalation goes, is it a one-time escalation, or is it 7.5% per year after the first 5?
7.5% at each renewal term, so at every 60
just-
months, it would
yeah, that-
renew at an escalation.
That doesn't seem like a very good deal to me, but, 7.5% over 5 years, it's only 1.5% a year. And what was it, is it safe to say that it was written at close to 24,000, how many years ago?
I guess, I
But
mean,
don't
how many
20
years they've been on the tower?
When the original lease amount, what was the original lease amount per month?
I'd have to go back and look at that. I don't know how long they've been on our
Did it have
tower,
the
to be
same-
fair.
the same escalation?
I'd have to go back and look at that. I don't know how long they've been on our tower.
Yeah, it's,
All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this?
Move approval.
Proper motion to move it to consent, is that what you're talking?
I would it'll first go back to AT&T for them to give us a formal agreement, and then it'll come to consent, just clarification.
So basically,
Move approval.
Move
to set
approval,
it
everybody
through
in-
the process, yeah.
all right, let's waive and support. Anybody not wanting to waive and support?
I'm on the fence. I just,
understand.
it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of bang for a buck.
So you want AT&T to stop using our towers, is that what you're saying?
No, but, we get an escalation of 1.5%. I was thinking that, if it was 7.5% per year, I thought that was excessive.
Yeah, but I think it also helps our residents out at the same time. I saw that same issue and,
They,
you know,
they don't get a free ride either.
I know, but they get AT&T and that's, in today's world, I'm good with it, so
I'll
let's.
go with it.
let's
Mr. Chairman,
move.
we had I hate to do this, but we had a motion on the floor. If we could possibly get a second, go ahead and do this formally, so Julian can go ahead, Ms. Young can go ahead and
Okay, we have
enter
proper
into
motion by
negotiations.
Commissioner Turner. Do we have a
Second.
second by Commissioner Adamsack? Any further discussion on the motion to move it forward? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Suggs. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board Ordinance Update, pages 10 to 12. Mr. Stevens, you got that? I was wondering why you were here today. No, geez.
Enjoy the ambiance. This is just to kind of clean up the ordinance. The very last portion of the Parks and Recreation Ordinance states that the members of the Recreation Advisory Board, who's going to be on there, of course, it specifies the county commissioner, and then it also directs the county administrator and the Parks and Recreation director to be members of the board. And with current sunshine laws, that would mean that we can't communicate outside of an actual meeting. So we just want to kind of clean that up and remove the county administrator and the Parks and Recreation director out of that membership list.
Mr. Turner, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we change ordinance to remove the administrator and the Parks Recreation Director, and we make those two positions an at-large position for somebody else to be appointed to that committee.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Mr. Pickens, you have the floor for discussion.
Yeah, this is something that we've been talking about, because it does interfere when we're, especially where the worst part was when we were talking about, probably the splash pad, but really the pickleball courts. And members would want to talk to Kevin, over, not in a meeting, and you couldn't do that, and you couldn't talk to Administrator Suggs, and I couldn't. So it really was hindering our ability to function as a board. So I appreciate the board moving us forward, and to have the two at large, that I hopefully add two quality members to that board.
Okay, we have proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion?
Any
Mr.
questions?
Adamsack, you have the floor.
Do we have to then add something in there to, I guess we're still having a county commissioner on the board as the chairman?
That's right.
So that county commissioner then couldn't talk to
No,
the
I won't.
board, but that's probably all right. Okay. I don't have anything.
Okay. All right, so we have a
I got
motion.
question.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, we're not meeting, in here it says we're meeting every month, but we're not meeting every month. We're meeting every other month.
Should that be changed now?
Well, the problem with it is it was monthly, and then it went to quarterly, and then it went to bi-monthly. So you would have to change the ordinance every time. I think we could probably just reword it to where it would say frequently, you know, so that it wouldn't specify a designated time every time, because these boards
Frequently
do.
no more than 90 days apart.
Yes, sir, something like that.
Well, I mean, why would we not have a set meeting time and date? What would be the reason for not doing that?
That's up to the board. The board's the one that voted to change it to every other month instead of every month. So that would be up to them.
I'm just, but the reason I raise the question is, we're fixing to modify an ordinance. It says here it meets monthly. So if we vote this the way that the motion was made, that stands. You gotta have meetings every month. If we're good with every other month, I don't have a problem with that, but should we go ahead and make a pending change now, or make it in the motion to meet every other month and clean this up?
Is that a rich question?
Rich, what?
Is that a rich
Oh.
question?
Well, can't we just do that? I mean, can't we just say that they can their meetings are not to exceed 90 days apart? Then they can meet 3 times a week if they got something on the agenda they need to meet. The chairman can call a meeting whenever he wants to. But the reason it went from at one time to quarterly is there wasn't nothing to discuss much. And so the chairman at that time went quarterly. But then when I think Commissioner Pickens decided to take chairman, they felt like they needed meetings on a more frequently basis, so they started calling them every other month, right?
Well, no, when I took it over from Commissioner Harbor, they were meeting every month.
I gotcha.
And I think it was 3 out of the first 5 months, we didn't have a quorum. And there really wasn't that much to talk about, so I made the suggestion, let's meet every other month, and maybe that'd make it a little easier for and we've changed some people on the board too, so every other month is all we need.
Well, if we just
Right
change
now.
the wordage in the ordinance to not more than 90 days, then you could meet whenever you wanted to, as long as there was at least one meeting every 90 days, right?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'll make that part of my motion if the,
Okay.
second will,
So at a minimum once per quarter?
minimum once per quarter.
You got that? Staff, y'all got that? Kevin, you got that?
Yes, sir.
Is that gonna make the public happy?
Okay, so we got the,
It has been.
all right, so we got proper motion, proper second. Mr. Adamsack, I think you second that, didn't you?
I think Bill did.
I did.
Bill did? Okay, and you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Don't go anywhere. Next item is you also splash pad well discussion, page 13.
Yes, sir. The board sent us out a few months ago to look at the options. We had looked at making the splash pad a recirculating system and found out that the expense was much higher than we were expecting. Then the board directed us to go out and seek some information about possibly converting that system into a well water system. It's still a drain away as it currently is, but then putting it on a well so we don't have to pay for the water, and then also not having to use it as a recirculating system. So went out and got some budgetary estimates from some different vendors, and they gave us some idea of about what it would cost to convert that system over. So we were kind of just seeking guidance on, is that something we want to continue to pursue with the information that you have there in front of you?
Go ahead. Mr. Rawls, you're first. Mr. Turner is after that.
Can we not make the connection, just cut the city connection that feeds in now, connect it to the well ourselves and call it a day?
Well, they would have to dig a well. They're,
I know, have the well
Yeah.
people install the well, then we take it from there.
well, there's more as far as putting in, without getting into too much of what they provided us. Some will want to put in some tanks to mix the water inside the tank to treat it before it goes to the splash pad, because the water has to be potable when it hits the splash pad. So it can't come just directly from the ground into the splash pad. So the water's going to have to be treated for pH and chlorine levels to get to the splash pad. And a couple of them have given different ideas of how they want to do that.
Mr. Turner?
And it's my understanding, by asking questions before the meeting, that we can't use existing wells, correct?
No, sir.
We can't chlorinate it, we can't do whatever because it's not deep enough or it doesn't produce enough water, whatever the we cannot use the original well.
No, sir, we cannot.
Okay, so the only way we have to get this off city water is to drill a well and treat the water before it gets to it.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea how long, once we put this system in, not to exceed $40,000, which is basically 1 year's city water bill, give or take a little? Is it, do we know how long this system's gonna last? In other words, do we have to rebuild this, chlorination system every year, or is it something that will last multiple years?
No, sir. It's similar to like a swimming pool, like a commercial pool. It uses commercial grade tanks. It's commercial equipment. You may have to replace a couple of the pumps yearly or every year.
There'll be maintenance and what have you, but
Yes, sir,
this is a
but-
multi-year thing is what
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to get, mainly. So where would we pay this from? General reserves? I'll just soon not bring that into it right now. That's why I'm saying, don't want another
Did I misunderstand?
ARPA fight
General
already
fund reserves
today
is
with
ARPA now.
Mr. Adamsack might swap me with his magazine over here.
It could use some lights around it too.
Lights around it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're really,
Because it's one of two parts that are.
we got it, I got it, I'm, yeah.
Get you some solar lights from Home Depot.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Turner, you done?
I don't see where we haven't, I don't see where we, I'm gonna let the others talk,
Okay.
because I see you got some buttons lit up.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rawls?
So I'm confused. If you take the city water out of the ground as it comes, we don't have to monitor it, we don't have to test it. It goes in, no pH adjustment, no chlorine adjustment, and it
But
can be
they
used.
charge us 40,000 a year.
Because it's already been treated. The city treats their water.
Correct,
So-
but you don't know to what level you're getting it. So they can inject chlorine at 3 parts per million by the time it gets downtown. And we had this conversation with a gentleman yesterday where they inject 2 parts per million. By the time it gets to the end of the run, it's 0.2% or 0.2 parts per million, which would not be enough to sanitize anything. That's their issue. So I'm perplexed because there's no way to tell what your parts per million are coming out of the faucet from the city without testing it every single day, and it can change on a daily basis. So why do we have to do it now?
It's a Department of Health issue. They're the ones that are the overseers of it, and that's what they tell us we have to do. And then they're gonna check it quarterly. The health department's gonna, staff has to inspect the water monthly and submit reports, and the DOH is gonna come out quarterly and inspect. So that's part of their policy, part of their regulations.
You good?
I'm confused.
Chairman,
What else is new?
Hang on a minute. Mr. Pickens, okay? And then we'll go to you, Julia.
Kevin, that, all the monitoring and stuff you just talked about, and then the maintenance, you have any idea what it will cost?
It'll be minimal,
Per
sir. Some of the peristaltic pumps, the Stentor pumps are a few $100s a year. When you do have to replace those, probably the biggest expense as a maintenance item would be the actual pump on the well itself, would be a few $1,000s, but again, that's gonna last several years before it needs, we hope it will last several years before it needs any type of replacement.
Testing and monitoring, that cost, or they do it for free?
No, sir, we just submit it to the Department of Health. We take the water sample and then give it to, with the forms to the DOH, and they take it from there.
Okay.
Julianne, do you have?
yes, sir, just one more item on the budget. We are in a new fiscal year, and we typically do budget between 35 to 40 grand in water bills for the city of Palatka to operate the splash pad. So it is possible the department budget has most, if not all, of the funds needed to complete the conversion without hitting the general fund for much, if anything.
Or ARPA?
Or ARPA.
Y'all need to quit saying ARPA. I think Mr.
It was
Adamsack's
funny,
gonna kick me
okay.
under the table.
All right, Mr. Turner, you have the floor, sir.
That's exactly what I was gonna
Okay.
ask, if we have money in there for city water now that we could use towards it in the funding. So basically, at this point, we're asking to divert the funding from buying city water into doing the recirculatory system, and if you need a
Not
few
recirc-
thousand to
Not
make.
recirculatory.
Okay, the new
Well,
water system, how's
There you
that?
go.
So, and that will keep us from having to buy city water to make those splash pad work, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I move that that's what we do. I move that we move this item forward and try to make it happen, and then if they need a little bit of money, they can come back and ask us for it if it turns out not to exceed the 40.
Second.
Okay. So your motion is not to exceed the 40, you
That's
said.
right.
And here it
That's
says
what
not to exceed 35.
I think if, somewhere in there I said it was not, I thought I read it was not to exceed 40.
It says not-
35 is what they thought it was gonna cost.
Kevin thought he just got $5,000.
I thought I had $40,000 till she remembered.
No,
the
it's, it
utilities
To
clearly,
budget.
exceed,
It says
so-
not to exceed 35 in it.
35.
Yes, sir.
But Commissioner Turner's motion is 40, it's been seconded.
Well, they're gonna pay for it out of their
Yeah,
budget,
I-
so it
I'm-
ain't like we're giving them anything
Right, we're
except
not.
for the permission to move forward.
I agree.
I
All right,
believe
any
the
further
40 that was in there
discussion on
was
the matter?
from the utilities.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Next item on the agenda, Commissioner request. This is a chance we get to talk about animal control facility, and that's item A. Mr. Rawls, I appreciate all the hard work you've been doing on that. I have a question for you because I've been approached by a couple gentlemen, but this is going to be, in your mind, you keep bringing up the word construction manager. Is that right?
Yes.
How does this board go about hiring the construction manager to oversee this project?
There's several ways. You put an RFP out for,
Okay.
or RFQ for construction manager. And by the way, your school district, the school district building over on Second
Right.
Street was a CM project.
Okay,
The advantage is,
So
when-
was the fire station in East Palaca.
Yes.
yes.
I thought that was firm fixed price.
Nope.
Okay, so the construction manager comes in and they basically bring the project to permitting, and they typically will offer value engineering. They're getting paid for their services as they go along, but it's a negotiated price on a cost plus basis, cost plus 4, cost plus 5, whatever you can get them down to. The county could, another option is the county could hire an employee that is a construction manager for small projects, and they are a construction manager not at risk. They pull the permits. The city of Palaca used to do that back in the day. That's how they built the Killarkin Fire Station and several other projects. They had the gentleman working on their payroll, and it saved them quite a bit of money, but you have to build in that position and the burden that comes along with it as far as cost.
Okay. I have some more questions, but do you have a question along that
I
line?
don't want to interrupt
Oh.
you, sir, while you're on a roll. I just,
Okay, okay. Well, I've had people reach out, people that are in the construction business who have a heart for animals, and they'd like to be a part of this solution. And this has been on the agenda for a long, long time.
Well,
It's
I know
really-
the BOCC fire station was built, and that was negotiated, they negotiated 4% on the cost plus, and they literally, from day one, they're getting whatever plan documents are missing together, they apply for the permits, they pulled the permits, but there's two ways, there's construction manager at risk and construction manager not at risk. That's where you save money or spend money. If you're construction manager, if you're hiring a construction manager at risk, they're gonna charge you more money for that than not at risk.
The other thing I want to talk about, and maybe we'll talk about all of them, and then we can come back and decide how we want to move forward, because I really would like to see this thing come out of the ground sooner than later. Appreciate the hard work on the building that you're doing, but that has nothing to do with the pens, per se. So the pens,
No, they're all designed.
but the pens are designed.
Mhm.
Why couldn't we go ahead and start construction on the
We
pens?
could.
Okay, we could start on the pens.
Yep.
Okay. And then we could always locate the building, because that's gonna be done by a concrete.
Well, the staff requested that the building be remote to the kennels anyways. We would just need to go out and lay out roughly where the building's gonna go. They didn't want, the original design had the kennels adjacent to the building, and then they said, you know what, we'd like to have separation by walkways so they don't have to hear the dogs barking in their ears all day long.
Okay, so we could go ahead and do kennels now.
Correct.
And get that coming out of the ground.
Yep. I'd asked them at the last animal services meeting about that, and they said that the problem with that is somebody's gotta go over there and physically
Yeah,
be there to
I get that, I do get that, but I think okay, that's just me,
Right.
okay? Now, the last thing along these lines is, I've heard you mention, Commissioner Rawls, post and beam construction. Believe me, I'm just in the insurance guy, so I don't know anything about construction, and you don't want me to know, and I can't nail two pieces of wood together. I can screw them together, but you don't want to sit there and hold on to them after I do. I carry all day long. I'm a good carrier. I can carry trusses, and I know what side to put them up on, but let me just say, I'm not,
Pointy side up.
that's it, pointy side up. Post and beam construction, from what I've been talking to construction people, we're looking at about $125 a square foot.
You're talking to the wrong people.
Okay, let me
I
finish
just
my-
built
let me-
myself a 15-foot
Okay,
high,
all right, let me,
hold on, post and beam,
okay, but,
listen to this, okay, post and beam, fully enclosed building for less than $75,000.
okay.
That's,
How many square feet?
I was 3,200.
Okay, so
Under
we're
roof.
looking at building a 5,000 square foot building, correct?
The kennel or the main
No,
building?
the main building would be 50 by
I
100.
think it was 4,000, wasn't it? I can't remember. I think it's 40 by 100, I can't remember. That's not gonna be post and beam. That's just gonna be,
A metal building?
studded walls with metal on the outside.
So
You
would,
could put metal over wood.
okay, my question is, would that be a metal building then? Because the price on metal buildings, from what I'm being told, we're 6 months out if we want to go with a metal building with a frame in the inside, and that's about $40 to $50.
Metal's your more expensive option.
But it's $40 to $50 a square foot right now, based on price,
It's-
not counting the
The
slab.
last building I got priced out about a month and a half ago was $45 a square foot erected.
Okay,
That does not include internal build outs.
I got
So
I got that.
the, where you waste money with that is you put the shell building up, then you have to frame exterior walls that are gonna hold up your drywall and insulate that
Right.
versus just putting up those 2x4 walls and then covering those with metal. But you said 100 and how much a foot?
25,
Wow,
I just built
I wanna
one
work
for
for them.
$26 a foot.
yeah.
post and beam?
Yes.
Yeah,
Was-
post,
Actually,
Wood
I
is
used a short enough red iron metal building from the posts up. I can show it to you. I just
No,
finished it 2
I
weeks
need,
ago.
okay. I want to get this thing out the ground, and I want to get it out with the
Well, what-
750,000.
what we can
What
do-
you got to
it-
be careful of, if I might, Mr. Chairman, is you got to be careful that the donkey doesn't pull the cart backwards,
I'm
and that's what you're fixing to let happen here. We need to go on, I think Commissioner Rawls is close to having, I know nothing frustrates me more than government speed.
no, actually, the architect will be on, every Wednesday, I have him for 8 hours. I pay him every Wednesday for 8 hours. So he's already started doing, I think he's got the ADA compliance review done. Now he's just gotta move into life safety, and then we'll hand it over to Stark.
My concern is this, before I yield the floor, that we all are seeing delay in construction right now, and we're all seeing delay in materials.
Is that a metal building or is that a wood building?
Okay, here's my question. If we go ahead, we've got, guys, I really need to talk about this.
Metal?
Jeff, if we go ahead and try to start building out there, at least the kennels aren't gonna go away, whether they're manned or not. We can at least do that.
I agree.
But
The
it'll
other
make the
day-
building cost more because they'll have to build over top of the kennels.
Well, they shouldn't. Their kennels are gonna
No,
be
no.
attached to the side
So
of
the way it's
walkway.
designed right now is that you have the main building.
Right, and the
They wanna
kennels.
come off both sides with kennels, and then if they have to, they can also come out this way with additional kennels in the future. We could go ahead and,
Open top kennels?
no, post and beam, wood trusses and metal roof, and then,
But if they build the kennels first, they're gonna charge more to put up the building over top of them. I just went through this.
no,
It was
the
2 grand
building,
more
the
money
building
if I
goes up
didn't
first.
tear my barn down first where they built this new.
No, yeah, you want the roof up, and then everything's partition block inside.
But I think that's, unless I'm misunderstanding, you're saying go ahead and build the kennels before we put up the roof, or go ahead
Okay,
and put up the
all right,
whole
well,
thing? I don't
The
know.
kennels include the roof.
Time out. The building is a freestanding building. Off of that is a concrete pad that's gonna go out to the kennels.
Concrete
which
wall,
is-
sidewalk, yes,
Which is gonna be away from the building.
correct.
So why could not we build the kennels out here, and then we're gonna
You
build
can.
the building up here?
Yes,
The building has nothing to do with the kennel,
correct.
We who?
the county.
Okay.
But
well,
he's saying,
that's
who are you gonna
easy
get to
too.
pull the permits and build
There's
it?
somebody in the county that
Yeah.
has to have the ability to go do that.
Okay, so that's
I
where the
believe that if
construction,
Jeff does it or I do it, it's a conflict of interest, because
It's-
they
okay.
asked me to do it in East Plaque, and I said no for
Right.
that reason.
okay, so the construction manager is the first thing we need to do.
Right.
To get this out of the ground.
Right.
And then the construction manager can say, we ought to not do the kennels until we do the building, or we should do the kennels and we can do the building, or it doesn't really matter which one goes first, the
Correct.
chicken or the egg at this point. So the first thing is to hire the construction manager to go out and secure what these costs might look like. Is that what we're hearing?
Right, now, here's another question. With the construction manager, since you're paying him, on a cost plus, we could go out and we could secure the materials from,
I get it. We
uh,
avoid sales
what's
tax.
the, no,
Pride,
Pride.
yes.
Get them to sell some materials. Now, if we pay $100,000, they still get their lift on that.
I get it.
But we buy it from Pride cheaper than we can buy it from anywhere
I
else.
get it. Good, I'm good with that. The reason I want to talk about this is, remember the other day also, we brought up the fact of those millings that Anderson Columbia wanted to sell us. And I was thinking, talked to Mr. Troxel about it, and we were kicking it around, because Parks and Recreation needed some for the parking lot and what have you. But would that be a suitable material to go ahead and lay that down on the ground?
That's an impervious condition. I think at that point,
You don't want to do that.
no, I think Mr. Troxel would probably have more to say about that, or one of the civil engineers
Okay.
about the.
All right, so forget all that. Construction manager is the first thing. When can we hire a construction
As soon
manager?
as you get a set of plans for him to look at, because he's managing jack nothing until he knows what he's managing.
All right,
I think we're getting ahead of I understand, Mr. Chairman, I get it. You know, it's like 4 years now, we've been talking about doing an animal facility, and then all of a sudden, we get down in the short stretch, and we've got to hurry up and get it done. Well,
Well, it's
I
not
think,
that.
no, sir, I believe that what we need to do is, we need to let Commissioner Rawls have a few more weeks to come up with at least a base plan, and then if we want to put out an RFQ for a construction manager, I'm on board.
Okay, when do you think you'll have those?
we
plans?
actually have elevations complete. Somebody's gonna have to make a decision, because when Danita went through, she was nice enough to put stacked stone, and we have 3 different elevations in the front. I personally think that we should do like a little front porch feature. We've got it already drawn and elevated. The commission needs to make a decision on which, are we just gonna be a flat building with a little overhanging doors, or can we have, extend that?
This commissioner says, go design the damn building like we gave you the authority to do,
We
and then bring the
give
design.
3 options for entrances.
Well,
Well,
pick
bring
the
it,
one you
bring it.
like,
Okay.
Jeff.
Or bring them all and let us sit down.
You know what?
Okay, when will that,
Hold the phone, I might
when can you have those here?
have them here right now.
No, that's,
So after 8 years carrying it, and all of a sudden, we got to have this thing out in the ground in
I
3
mean,
weeks?
if you guys don't mind, look,
no, but we always hear we're 6 months behind in supply chain, and so that's gonna put us to next year before we ever even see anything.
Well, on
Alright.
certain items, yes.
I'm gonna pass that down.
But
There-
you
there's-
can't plan for that, because whatever you're short
There's
on
2
this
looks at
week,
it.
you may not be short on next
get it.
week.
I get it. Okay, I take that back, because let's do this. Commissioner Rawls, at the next meeting, can you bring us a set of plans
Absolutely.
for the kennels and the building? Okay, then we can have the discussion over going forward at this point, right? Thank you. That's all I have to say about that. Okay? Mr. Adamczak, discussion on biosolids.
So, I think we need to actually make a decision on what we want to do about biosolids in our community. So, I've thought about this, I've discussed it with staff, with some members of staff, with several people in the community. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna propose what I think we should do, so that hopefully we can talk about it and come to some consensus of what we should do. So in those conversations, I feel like we should allow Class A and AA as they are today. I don't think we should put any further restrictions on them than there is today, because I don't really feel that they're the problem, per se. So I think that part of our ordinance and stuff should stay the same. I think for Class B, we should limit it to industrial areas where, and basically go with setbacks that are twice the DEP setbacks, which Gabriel was gonna get me that, but I don't think he has it yet. But, that'd be my initial proposal for us to start the discussion. And the reason why I'm saying industrial would be okay with me is because I think that there is the opportunity for someone to have a processing type plant in an industrial area as technology moves forward for processing Class B, where they can intake Class B and do waste treatment, whether it's a government facility or a private entity. I think at some point, we're gonna see private entities, whether it's utilities or private companies, getting into the business of processing biosolids. That is coming in the near future, if you talk in terms of government, because government moves slow. But I think that is coming, and I think we need to not make it so prohibitive that we can't process them in a way that puts out a end product that's a Class A or double A from that facility. And I think an industrial location is the place to do that, because you're in fact taking in quote-unquote waste and turning it into something that's beneficial.
Can I, Mr. Turner, you mind if I ask a question before I call on you?
You're the chairman, sir. You get to do just about whatever you
No,
want
sir,
for
I
2 more
don't do
weeks.
that. 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks, is it? Okay, so is that industrial zoning on land, or is that, because you said double the setbacks?
Yeah, industrial zoning.
Okay, good.
But the setback just from, and specifically the setback from water and wetlands.
Okay.
Not necessarily the property border, but water and
Water and
wetlands.
wetlands, okay.
I apologize, I didn't.
No,
mean-
you're fine. Mr. Turner, you have the floor.
Number one, the county already has a plant that they can go over there and dump at. It's just cost prohibitive, that's the problem. The city takes in it, I'm almost certain they take it, and then I know the county takes it. And, but it's cost prohibitive. We've got several Class B biosolid dump sites in Putnam County, it's my understanding. You ever even heard about one of them?
Well,
No.
only one I heard about, it closed, that was in
Because
Barton.
I understand
it was
it's
in
really
it was in a proper location. Industrial's not the place to put it. It's in ag property out away from everything to where there's not houses in the area. That's where you put it, because then they can fertilize their hay fields with it. They can do things, and there's not a, there's not a smell factor. There's not a biohazards factor if they're out in that area. So you had me up until the industrial thing. I'm not gonna vote for that. I think because the proper place, I'll go along even at this point. I think Commissioner Rawls brought it up a few meetings ago to where we don't allow any out-of-county biosolids, Class B biosolids to come in. I'll even go there. I won't put a moratorium on it, because at some point, we've got to deal with this stuff. It may not be pretty, but we got to deal with it. And the way to deal with it isn't that you got to carry it all your biosolids to a waste facility, when there's perfectly fine a way to do it in certain locations. The key is like building a landfill or a construction landfill. There's places you can put them that are adequate to put them, but you don't want one next door to a subdivision. That's what's wrong with that one down there. They're trying to put that one next door to a bunch of houses. You can't do that. The smell from the place will run everybody out of town. But if they took that and put it out in the middle of one of the largest Rayonier or Georgia Pacific tracts where there wasn't a lot around it, it wouldn't be an issue. We have them going on now. So I just think we need to not have a knee-jerk reaction over a deal that we're all against. I think everybody here said that they're against
So
that one
let me
down
clarify
there.
my stance, and the reason why I allow it for an industrial is I'm against the dumping of Class B biosolids on any property directly
I
onto the ground.
understand that. You made that
Any,
clear,
anywhere, anytime.
but I'm not.
An industrial facility where they can be processed is another thing.
Well, they got to put their sludge somewhere.
Sure.
Where?
That's up to the commercial enterprise to figure that out.
Okay.
Maybe they take it to another county, I don't know.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, Mr. Rawls, you have the floor, sir.
There's the New York man speaking that sends all their
Okay,
trash
okay.
out of state. I didn't mean that badly, by the way.
I think Terry said it for me. We need to look at ourselves holistically, see where we are. We are very dependent on small on-site septic systems. I would imagine probably all of us have them. And, so that's a load towards our daily load. So I think we need to calculate our total daily load, where we are now. Take a look at where we would like to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And, but I think for right now, we should stop allowing anything from out of county, until such time that we get our head wrapped around this. And then, you know, if somebody wanted to come in and set up a processing plant at the landfill and make Milorganite like they did in Milwaukee, something like that, that'd be great. But I'm glad we're having a conversation about it, because we do need to figure out a solution for the problem. And it's a problem that's going to get larger and larger and larger. The city of Palatka uses, they have Tater Farms has that growing facility behind theirs, so they're able to clean it up and give it to them, and Water Management's worked with them, giving them money to be able to get rid of theirs, about like that. Maybe we could do something creative along the lines of that. I was with David Dinkins yesterday, and we were talking about one of the byproducts, excuse me, of an indoor cannabis growing facility is dirt. You have all the pots that the cannabis grows in, and it creates an opportunity for someone that wants to go into composting, and then you have this nutrient-rich fertile or soil that you can give away to farmers or to anyone else, or bag it up and sell it. But it's all in how you deal with it.
Yeah, Commissioner Pickens, if you don't mind, I want to,
Yeah.
you know, Commissioner Rawls, I think you're the first one to say how much poop can Putnam County handle. And that really got me thinking, and I did reach out to people, because if you look at all the lots that we have available, even if they had to be combined to be buildable lots, still, how many septic tanks would be in the ground in Putnam County? And how much poop can we handle? And truly, I think that's what,
Septic, if it goes wastewater, you still have to deal with.
yeah, and that's what got me thinking about it, so I appreciate that. Mr. Pickens?
Commissioner Adams, when you're talking about the sites on industrial property, would it be where they would actually process this, or it'd have to be industrial to apply it on the ground, such as a agricultural activity would do?
I guess I'd like to allow for the processing of it, would be the best way to word it. I'm for an all-out ban, so I'll be straight up forward with it. Class B biosolids outside the existing facility, and whatever happens with, because I guess we can't do anything about the in-flight application. Outside of those, and my understanding is there's only one facility. There's one that's approved by DEP, it never got approved by the county because they never applied. And I guess I'm asking, is my understanding correct, Administrator Suggs, that we only have one active site?
I believe there was 2 active sites, but we can verify that, but I believe it was 2.
Two that are approved by us?
I think so.
I thought one was within the city limits of Crescent City.
What is it, Mr. Siafi? I know we got 2 in the county. Is one in the county, one in the
I get
city?
confused.
Mr. Siafi, come.
I know there's one in District 1.
Yeah, I thought that was within the city limits of.
No.
All equipment is.
There you go. I knew that was going to come out. I knew it.
What is,
Should
sorry,
have bet.
We had 3, one got shut down because they didn't go through our process. One's in the county and one's in Crescent City.
so there's 2 that are actually active.
Yeah.
One in Crescent City, is that for their sewer treatment plant?
Yeah.
Okay, so that, in my estimation, doesn't count, because that's already.
Right, we don't cover that. We don't have jurisdiction over that anyhow.
I think there's another one in Boston, but it's just not operating at this time.
There was one in Barden,
Barden, I
yeah,
meant, yeah.
that one was shut down.
Okay.
So we have 1 within the county, and we have 1 application.
So where do we want to go with this? I mean, I've
Nowhere
heard
at
3.
all. We've talked about it 9 times, and where do you want to go with it?
Well, I think Commissioner Adamsack, I think what I'm hearing is people, there's been a consensus, not consensus, there've been a majority of people speaking that they don't want out-of-county biosolids. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm hearing that no one wants any biosolids, but that Class B biosolids specifically, and definitely not out of county.
if
And
we-
I would say what I'm hearing is a consensus, because I've yet to hear someone say they want any.
We got to deal with our own problems. I can get there with the out-of-town
With the
stuff
out-of-town.
coming in, because they can haul theirs to a facility for probably not much different than what they're gonna haul it all the way to Putnam County and spread it. I don't think you're putting them out of business. I can get there,
For out-of-towners?
but we've got to deal with our own
Okay.
stuff, and I'm not gonna vote to send our stuff to Jacksonville.
No, I get it.
I'm not gonna do that.
How do we determine that a truck all the poop on the truck, to leave the confines of our county. How do you determine that? They go and pump out septics all over. It's not like the truck goes Putnam, not Clay. I mean,
Well, I think you would know I think DEP would make them keep records on where this comes from.
I'm not an expert in this field, but I understand that you have to keep records like you can't imagine if you own a spray field. You've got to tell where it came from, when you pumped it, how long it sat in the tank, was treated with the chemicals before they're allowed to spread it. There's a massive record keeping going on in order to make that happen. So I don't know that there is a way. Let's say, for instance, one of the local pumpers around here pumps all the handyways stores, well, there ain't no handyways anymore, all the convenience stores in half the state of Florida. I don't know that that's going on, but let's say they did. I don't know that it would be possible for us to know that they sent their pump truck to Ocala, pumped something out and brought it back to their facility. I don't know you could follow that or not, but I know that that would have to be treated and then handled in a way that made DEP happy, or they'd shut them down. And they do watch it. Don't think for a minute they don't watch it. But they watch for probably different things. They don't watch for the smell. In other words, that's why I'm opposed to biosolids more than anything else, is because DEP's job is to make sure that it's not gonna harm the environment where they're spreading it. That's their job. But if the numbers say it's safe to do it, then it's not their job that is inconvenient to the neighborhood. That's not part of their job, I don't believe. And so when you get a spray field and you have enough breeze or wind going over top of it that it blows that smell into a neighborhood, it's unacceptable. It's worse than you can imagine. I was told that one out there in Barden was so bad that when it went a certain direction, they wouldn't even spread unless they had wind coming from the other way for days on end, because it would spread over there, and the people that lived at the house a half a mile away would have to launder the clothes in the closet, not what they were wearing. They had to launder the clothes in the closet. I got a problem with that one. So, but there is a proper place to put this somewhere, and we've still got to deal with our stuff other than sending it out of town to another place.
So how do we stop, Rich, how do we stop, or can we, or do you know of any other counties that stop out-of-county biosolids from coming in?
I've looked into that. I can't find another one that does stop.
Okay.
I don't know the reason.
my understanding from what I've looked up, they either ban them or they let them come in. That's what I've
So
seen.
you ban out-of-county?
No, you ban Class B biosolids,
buy-
or you let them come in. That's the two in-betweens in the counties.
But you can't ban out-of-town
I haven't,
biosolids, Class
like he's
B.
saying, I've asked him the same question, I've asked other people the same question. No one has yet to say that there's anywhere that bans out of county only.
I don't know how you could.
Right, and I don't know how you would control that.
Unless
The
you
cost of
drove
oversight
around-
to me
Unless you
would.
drove around behind the pump truck
Right.
with a camera. Really, I don't
No,
know how
that-
you could. So,
Years ago, that happened in Larry. They were dumping in the side of the road. They were.
I would like to make a motion that we put a moratorium on Class B biosolids until we have this figured out.
What do we do with the ones in the county now?
need a second first.
Yeah, but,
Second,
I'll second for conversation.
okay, got a proper motion and a second?
So what do we do with the ones, you have, Dr. Reuter and several other people that pump out septic tanks. And by the way, at one time, there was a bill on the governor's desk to have septic tanks inspected every 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and that isn't a dead issue yet, because with, when we were talking last year, with the year before last with the B mapping, that was something they're pushing for. Should that happen, then what do we do with those biosolids? Or I have construction tools, when somebody comes in and pumps those out every week.
we have a fee at our facility at 9 cents a
Hang
gallon.
on.
I don't think he was next.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, my question with that is, if we put an all-out ban on it, then we're forcing the operators that we currently have in our county, we're hurting them. I think maybe we need to have a robust conversation and bring them to the table. and see, get as much input as we can, because I'm ignorant as the day is long when it comes to this. I can say when I flush my toilet, it goes somewhere. I just don't know where it goes. After it hits my septic tank and leaches out, does it go down into the Florida aquifer? Does it spread out and go under city streets laterally because it hit hard pan? Who knows? But, you know, we need to get people in here that have a lot more expertise in this than we do.
Mr. Turner?
What we're inadvertently would do if we did this is we would make a pump out. And if somebody, you've got to have your septic tank pumped out, instead of it being $300, it's gonna be $1,300. Because he's gonna have to go over and pay to put that stuff in one of the areas instead of going through the lesser expensive things of being able to spread in a legal spread operation that we hear nothing wrong about. Every day, there's at least 2 of them, I understand, that's going on right now. We don't hear anything from them. And the reason why is because if they do it properly, and just like they're supposed to, there's not an issue here. You know, DEP monitors the safety factor of it. I promise you that if they didn't figure out a way to treat them in a way that kept the smell down, if there was somebody in the neighborhood, we would have heard about this.
Where is our current location now?
Hang on.
I guess-
Finish, Mr. Turner.
No, I'm not. I can't support this because it's gonna take a $300 pump out and turn it into a $1,300 to $2,000 pump out. I can't support this because that's what happened with the septic tank thing Commissioner Rawls was talking about earlier. The legislature killed it because it was fixing to cost every person that had a septic tank $300 to $700 every year. Every year.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years to go out and do the set, but the first year they all had to be done.
Right.
So you're fixing to take your septic tank that's working fine with never any issues whatsoever, and you were gonna have to hire a professional to go out there and do them. And it might be 300 a day, but it would have been 700 by next week if they mandated every one of them to be looked at.
But that's my point.
Okay,
is-
hang on. Mr. Amdett, do you have a comment? 'Cause you
Yes,
were
just
next.
a response, I don't think the number would be 700 to 1,500, I think it'd be more like $450 to $550, but, because at our current rate of 9 cents a
Disagree.
gallon, based on a 10,000 gallon truck and what it takes for them to pump out mine when they leave my yard, because I've had it pumped
All
out
right,
several
so-
times.
Whoever's doing it's got to make money
I
somehow.
understand that.
Okay, so we can't do an out of county. We got a motion on the floor, a second on the floor.
And again, I'm all for this further discussion, get experts in here and all that.
You want
But
to
I think
withdraw
we
your
need,
motion then?
no, my was for a moratorium at this time,
Right.
while we have these discussions.
Gotcha.
So that we don't get 10 more applications that come in before we make a decision. We have one application we can't do anything with. If another application came in before we have a moratorium, then we have to accept that and let that play out through the process. Let's have the discussion with the moratorium until we make a decision. I think we should be able to make a decision if we get some experts in here in fairly short order. I mean, this conversation started in February of this year.
Well, I'll say something in a minute. Mr. Pickens?
So the moratorium would be for new applications, the ones in the pipe, it wouldn't
We
affect.
can't do anything about the one in the pipe, is my
And then the
understanding.
one that are actively using sites, it would not affect them either.
My understanding, we can't do anything about them or the new application. Is that correct, Richard? I called you Richard.
Mr. Rawls, and then Mr. Turner.
I'd like to see if I get the mayor to come up and answer a question for me.
Who?
The mayor,
No.
come up here.
No, let's not. We're
No,
not.
I mean, I know, seriously,
Let's move on past
no,
that.
seriously, if we shut down Biosolid facilities except for the sewer treatment plant that the city has and
Okay.
ours in East Palatka, how would that
Okay,
impact the
Mr.
city?
Rawls, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna,
Well, I mean,
we can do this at a structured meeting where we have open conversation.
I
There's a mo-
I can't vote for it on a ban then, because
There's a
if we
motion
start
and a
sending.
second.
Oh, the motion's for a moratorium, not for,
Motion is
Or
for
a moratorium, I can't vote for that.
until
because
we gather all this.
If we
Okay.
start putting pressure on the two septic system, or the two wastewater systems that we have, close to here, that the city may not be able to handle, I don't know what it would do to
So
all
do you
this.
withdraw your second, or do you keep it?
I would withdraw the second.
Okay, then the motion failed. Mr. Turner, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Not if the motion failed.
Motion failed. Okay.
Now, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
What is our capacity on our wastewater system to take biosolids?
We're at about 40, between 40 and 45%.
Okay, so that's one question I'd like to get answered, is what we could take if we did if we went to this. That is one of the questions I would need answered.
And I think a future date to having this discussion with everybody, I think that's a great move. And that's where we bring all the players to the table. I do believe so, because there's always unintended consequences
Right.
to what we do.
Exactly. I just think we
And-
need to be careful with
Right,
that.
we do need
Well,
to be
I know that the
Last thing we
city was
wanna
having
do
a hard time with our leachate.
Take somebody and, because it will make it cost a lot more money.
Once upon a time, we were sending leachate to the city, and they couldn't take that
Well,
anymore.
I got that in my commissioner comments today. We're gonna have a discussion about
Okay.
that today.
Okay.
I'm glad the
But I will
mayor's
say
here.
this, if you don't think that the septic tank would have been an issue at the state level, have DEP come inspect your septic tanks every 5 years. And you talk about unintended consequences.
That's my, when I say how much do we have in the county now, that's what I'm thinking is, it's gonna come up. It will pass eventually.
Yep.
And when it does, that will become our Class B biosolid issue to deal with, because we have all these septic systems currently in play.
All right, good deal. Okay, so we got through that. Thank you very much. Commissioner comments, I'll start with my far left, Mr. Rawls.
I'd like to invite the mayor to come up. I reached out to him yesterday about setting up a meeting
Okay.
and asked him if he could attend the meeting today and talk to us about us getting together with the, he's not listening. And while he's coming up, I'll forward staff the drawings, so, digitally, so y'all can get them ahead of time.
Go ahead and
Start
print
looking
them
at it.
out.
But I would like to get comments back on which front elevation we're gonna go with, because there are a bunch.
Welcome, Mayor. Thank you for being here today.
One way or another, I end up at the front. Mr. Chairman, to this commission, listening to the dialogue for the last 30 minutes or so as it relates to this workshop, I think it brings forth a critical issue, and it's having the city commission and the county commission start to have additional dialogue, to have those joint commission meetings. As I look at what's going on overall, I think this commission has started to have meetings in various areas throughout the county and the region. But I think it's critical when we start talking about the growth of Putnam County, that it starts with the core. Because the reality of what's going on around us, we've got dirt moving all around. We've got opportunities that are endless within this county. But if this commission and my commission can't come together, I think, and truly have a plan that moves this community forward as the county seat, and have really a plan that builds us from the core out in order to create the destination for Putnam, we won't be able to prosper in the time necessary, and we will find ourselves being reactive as opposed to proactive. And so I've made the request to you, Commissioner Harvey. I've spoken to a couple of the county commissioners here, most of the people on this dais. But my commission has also given me the charge of us coordinating another meeting so that we can deal with issues and have solutions for biosolids, so that we can have issues as it relates to deal with issues of animal control and even issues of economic development. And so it is my prayer that the county commission will grant the opportunity for us all to sit together again cohesively and work towards a true one Putnam and move forward, I think, with true direction on various issues that are going to be important to us as we move forward in the future. So that's my request.
Mayor, I want to ask you a question. I know at the last meeting, we were going to sit back and discuss that, but you had to leave, and I understand that. So, but we kind of left it where we were going to let the staff kind of work out the issues and come back with a general consensus of what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to have a meeting just where we're going to, somebody brings up something nobody's prepared to bring up. So is that where we're still at? I mean, do you want to sit down with me? Chairmanship will probably be changing here in 2 weeks. So, I mean, I don't mind sitting down with you at all and having that discussion, but I do think it's going to take what the issues of this board, what's the issues of your board, and then try to merge those together with staff. Because I just don't want to sit there and be blindsided, nor do we want to blindside y'all at that meeting.
I don't know how your commission works, but my staff doesn't drive me. We give the direction to the staff. And so, I would like for
I
my
think you know
commission
how
to
it
have the
works.
latitude to come forth.
We don't get
with
direction.
with whatever they have from the standpoint of being able to move forward, with concerns from the commission. And some of those concerns may not be choreographed. I don't know what all the concerns are gonna be from commissioners, but I don't wanna sit in a meeting with you or anyone else and have someone tell me what we can discuss in that meeting when it's 5 elected officials from both of these boards.
I think you
who have the-
misunderstood the point. I'm not
I
having
don't,
staff do that.
I'm not misunderstanding it, and I think part of it is characterized differently than what we discussed. I just want us all to be able to come together to talk about issues that are important to Putnam County as well as the city of Palaca. It's not a situation where we're gonna be caught off guard. I would have been caught off guard talking about biosolids
I
3
know
seconds
you were.
ago.
That's why I wasn't
But
gonna
the
lie.
reality of it is, I have a willing heart to help where we can. And I would love for both of these commissions to be able to come together. You may not have necessarily led the meetings previously, but those meetings and the topics that were discussed were on an agenda. And we don't walk into any meeting without an agenda. And so we would like to be able to do that, to make sure that we cover the major topics. But if any commissioner here or any commissioner that's with the city finds another topic that we may be able to discuss to come up with an opportunity to move our communities forward, I don't want them to be hamstrung.
How about you and I sit down and come up with some general topics, and then I can bring them back to this board? Would that be good?
That's fine with me. We've sent you over, and you should have the minutes from the past meetings that you didn't have. We've sent those over to you. There are significant topics on those from the previous meetings. I think at which time we both went through considerable staff transition. But I think there's definitely an opportunity for us to continue dialogue on those things. There have been some successes. The St. John's Avenue paving on the westerly end was a success that came out of those meetings. But I think there are some other successes that we need to also publicize that have come from joint commission meetings. Our staffs are working closely together, but I also think that there's an opportunity for the commissions to work even closer than what we are doing. And so I know individually commissioners reach out and talk to one another, but I think collectively there needs to be really a plan that's cohesive.
Let's look at next Monday, you and I sitting down and having that.
I work 6 jobs, but I
Get
can
it.
try to figure out a
So-
way to do it as long as you don't go to sleep.
Mr. Rawls?
I agree with Mayor Hill. I don't want to be hamstrung. I think that at some point, we should be able to freewheel a little bit, noodle through the issues and come up with creative solutions. I think especially in our first meeting, we should be able to come out. I would look at it more as visioning or strategic planning as a joint committee to be able to come up with a vision. Serving on the CRA, I get a front seat at what the city's doing right now. I don't know if anybody else has been keeping track of that, but I think Mr. Hill's correct. As Palaca goes, Putnam County is going to go. This is the county seat. Our own building is inside the city limits. And so I think that it's important for us to have regular meetings that we can look forward to, either every other month or every 3 months. Get a list of priorities and start working from the top down and check off. And as other things come on, keep adding to it. But I think this is a chance for us to synergize. And one of the things I talked to the mayor about yesterday was the fact that we both have ARPA money, but there might be projects that we can joint venture with our ARPA money on and make it go a little bit further. But I don't want to be hamstrung by, hey, this is all we're going to be discussing.
No, that's not what I'm
Well, in all honesty, I've been to those meetings that were arranged, and I've been told, if you want to talk to Commissioner Rawls after the meeting, you can go ahead. I don't want to talk about this right now. I think that there should be some informality enough for us to be able to freewheel a little bit and put it on the board.
I agree we should be able to have open discussions. Mr. Adams?
I'm 9 days from a year on this commission, and I'm very disappointed in the fact that we haven't had any commission dialogue between the two commissions. Wherever that problem is, I've asked for it several times. I actually figured that was just part of business. With your county seat being your largest center of people, our largest population center, where most of our business centric is. I mean, we look to the Chamber of Commerce for a lot in this commission, in this community. That is the center of most of where the businesses are that are members of the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, everything aligns that we should be working hand in hand with the city of Palaca and the other municipalities, but especially the city of Palaca. And the idea that we haven't met as a group, and I've had one-off meetings with Mayor Hill, with some of the other commission members of his commission, and that's not productive. We can't make decisions on our own as two people meeting. We can just bring things to our respective boards. If we do it together, I think we can really move some things forward for the community.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
I've been to some of the city and county joint meetings before. It's not a new thing. I don't mind, excuse me, I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
I don't have an issue trying it again, but I want some kind of structure there. We're not gonna just go in and start arguing about different things and what have you. I just won't go at all. Y'all have all the meetings you like. But if you wanna have a meeting and get productive, you got to have some kind of a structure, You can't just go in and start fighting over, they want us to pay for all the taxes on all the enclave pieces of property in Putnam County, which quite frankly is what busted up the meetings last time around. So I'm just saying, I have no issue with this whatsoever, but we need to have some kind of a structure. At least, what issues does the city want to talk to us about? What issues does the county want to discuss with them? It doesn't hamstring anybody. We can do it under commissioner comments at the end of the meeting. We can say, what do y'all think about this subject, to talk about at our next meeting? And, you know, and when we have a meeting after that, I'm hoping that it will be successful. I agree with Mayor Hill. I'm hoping that it will be successful, and we can move this forward and get a better relationship than what we've had in the last couple of years. I do really hope that, but we need to have some structure to get there, or it'll just be a free-for-all when we show up.
Thank you. Mr. Pickens?
Yeah, and I'd look forward to a meeting with the city of Palaca. But I do think we need some type of agenda of maybe the major things that are of concern or interest from the city side, the county side, and leave it open for whatever topic may want to be brought up during the meeting or towards the end of the meeting after those have been discussed, and go ahead and commit to another meeting, maybe once a quarter or something like that, to talk about those issues also. So, but I think there's got to be some basic agenda of what we're going to focus on for the first meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Hill. Appreciate it.
Can I add one thing in closing? My suggestion to everyone, and I'll make the same suggestion to my commission, is that each commissioner provide the manager with whatever topics that you want to have, and we also allow time at the end of the meeting for commissioner comments.
We did that
in case something else comes up. And for those who were at those meetings, if you recall, maybe I missed the fights, but I didn't see the fights in those meetings. But what I did see were agenda items that dealt with issues such as the business park and things of that nature. And I wholeheartedly agree that we need to have these meetings on some frequent basis. I also don't think that there's intentionality for there not being meetings. I just think historically there's not been any consistency over decades with the city and the county meeting to truly discuss issues. And part of it was because there was not a whole lot going on. But we also know that there was more work being done with logic than in other places. And I'm hoping that we'll get logic back on the schedule again so that we can still have some encounters with all of our constitutionals as well as the city and as external partners. But we haven't had a logic meeting as well in a long time, and I think that we need to get back on track. The pandemic set us apart on a lot of stuff, but I think we've got to stay on track because we have developers that are coming into the communities. We've got new citizens moving into the community, and we have to make sure that as we speak one Putnam, that we act like one Putnam. And regardless of what philosophical differences we may have personally, we have an obligation to the people collectively.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Jeff, you still have the floor, sir. Mr. Ross?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Commissioner Pickens?
I'm good.
Commissioner Amzak?
I'm good.
Commissioner Turner?
I have an issue that I'd like to bring up. A few years ago, Mr. Mayor, would you wait just 1 minute? I don't want you to be blindsided at the commission with what I'm fixing to bring up.
You don't need to come up here.
You don't have to come up. I just wanted you to hear this. It's only gonna take a second if you have that much of your time. The county used to haul our leachate to the city, and they couldn't haul the city because the city, it used to, and I'm not gonna use the proper terms, but it used to blow up the plant, make their balances out. They couldn't take it any longer. They tried dumping it out away or whatever, so they couldn't take it anymore. I get it. But we were taking their sludge, and we're still taking the sewer sludge. And then the county takes their sewer sludge and doesn't pay for it. And, I mean, doesn't make them pay for it. So I was kinda okay with some of that too, 'cause maybe we could do the leachate again when balances got better into the future. But then last year, we had to pay for water from the city for our splash pad, and we're still taking sewer sludge from them for free, and have for 3 or 4 years now, 3 years at least probably. There's something here that needs to be brought up between staff and the mayor's staff about that's not equitable. I believe in being fair, that's not fair. So, you know, if we're gonna perform a service, it used to be a great deal for everybody. We'd take their sewer sludge, they'd take our leachate. It used to be a good deal, but because they couldn't take, we were hoping in the future they could take leachate again, and it would become a good deal and again for both of us.
Does this go to landfill?
Okay, wait.
Yes, the sludge does. And so anyhow, we talked about this a few months ago, and I don't think it ever went anywhere, so now I'm bringing it up on television, because I'd like for this to go somewhere. It's not fair what's going on. We're being taken advantage of.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can respond to that when it's appropriate. We have had this discussion, and I believe that the city staff has been notified, and I believe there is also a letter has been written with a date certain for the deliveries of those solids to the landfill to be ceased and desist.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adams. Do you mind, Mr. Adams?
This sounds like exactly why we need to have a meeting between the city and the county.
I'm good with that.
All right, good. Mayor, we don't,
I'll just invite, Commissioner Turner, give me a call, and I'll show you the numbers on how much it costs to take your leachate, or you can talk to
All
either
right.
one of these guys.
All right.
And they can show you that it wasn't fair then, but we'll take it.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, anything else?
All I had.
Okay. And I don't have anything else either. County Attorney, Mr. Commanda? Okay, County Administrator, you have a top, Mr. Ross?
I got a question. Jay was looking into a leachate processing to burn off the leachate. Is that still viable,
Don't
or?
have enough methane yet.
Yeah.
It's
So-
coming. It'll get there.
Okay.
All right. County Administration,
I'm going to defer my time to Ms. Julianne Young, sir.
Ms. Young, you have a topic.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Historically, or if you'll remember, we issued a dirt to pave bid for fiscal year '21. And you're all well aware, because it came back to workshop. The dirt to pave bid was issued with then current standards of an FDOT certification requirement of projects that exceed $100,000 threshold. We discussed this at the last workshop, and the board gave direction to staff to waive that particular requirement in totality for dirt to pave, and then to increase that threshold on future projects to $250,000 where FDOT certifications, where we thought it was a viable requirement. After that workshop, staff issued the intent to award, which is a procurement process that happens. Following that, we have received a protest. Following some conversation with their legal counsel and our legal counsel, I believe it is my recommendation to reject all bids related to this particular dirt to pave and to reissue dirt to pave 21 project, completely removing the FDOT qualification threshold requirements, because we have shown a tolerance to remove it in its totality. So for this particular project, we would remove it all together.
I have a question.
Okay?
Can we vote on it today?
No?
So we're just gonna send it to, I knew that, I just wanted to bring it out there. So I knew we couldn't vote on it, I just wanted to say that. So we're gonna send it back to consent agenda on the 23rd. Is that what we're talking about?
No, sir. What staff is recommending
Somebody's
is,
gotta vote on it.
No,
to
sir.
remove it, right?
no, sir, I'm not asking, staff is giving you an updated, staff is giving you a recommendation on the process that I intend to follow. And I guess I am seeking consensus or all-out objection from you guys. That staff is going to reject all bids. Staff is going to reissue the same bid, removing, with the exception that I'm going to remove in totality the FDOT requirement for the sub or the prime to hold. And I'm going to then award based on normal process in that dirt to pave bid.
And that's
How many
based
days
on
are
your
we gonna
prior
get?
direction.
How many days are we gonna put this back out on the street?
By your ordinance, it has to be 28 days on the street.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Is there no way to do this? I understand that one company filed a protest,
Yes, sir.
okay? Rich, do you feel like we can't win that protest because of the way this went? Because number one, I don't wanna do it. And number two, if we put the numbers back out on the street, then we just told everybody what the low bidder was. That's not real ethical. We may have to do it, but it ain't fair. Not is it only not ethical, it ain't fair that you just shut the britches off of the lowest contractor. He knows what everybody's bid is. So now, if anybody can do it cheaper, all they got to do is beat that guy's price. So that's not fair. That's not fair. So my question is, can we win this? If they take us to court, can we win the fact that we waived that if it was in the bid?
You won't know till you go to court.
Okay?
And
So then
sometimes
your
you can-
opinion, you don't know.
Right, so you can win the battle and lose the war. I
I
mean, you don't
understand
wanna,
that,
you could end
yes.
up spending, an exorbitant amount in legal fees to win, if you wanna call it that. But, you know, everything that staff just recommended is in the spirit of being fair. So it's leveling the playing field on what the recommendations are. And let me just add one thing. There's a couple different ways that I've seen this play out. People sharpen their pencils and you get more effective bids, but you know, with the way the construction market is now, it's a possibility that you're gonna get higher bids across the board because costs are going up. So, it's not an automatic that because those prices are out there, it's gonna dictate what the bids coming in would be.
If someone bid with us in good faith, which they did, and I don't care who gets this job, I really don't. But in all fairness, if somebody bid with us in good faith, and if we're in the right, if we feel like we're in the right, by the time we got to court and decided to defend this, it would take what, months to get there instead of just dropping the bids and rebidding it for 28 days and then letting the thing without the DOT portion in it
It could be a lot more than months.
to go to court?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It'd take a lot longer. So that would help get me on board with this, because I think this is unfair. Y'all won't talk me into this. I've been in that position, and I know Commissioner Rawls has been in the position, because I'm the one that got the bid from him. So I know I know Commissioner Rawls has been in that position. So, yeah, but I'm just telling you. But anyhow, I don't think it's fair, that we rebid the project. I really don't think it's fair. But if you feel like we need to do that to make the thing go quicker, because it may be months and months and months going to court and the legal fees involved, because I know you have a base legal fee, but this would be additional, either hire somebody or you take it on at an additional fee, so that has to be brought into it. But I'm going on record to saying I'll do what staff recommends in this thing, because you're the experts in this procurement business. But I'm gonna say it on record, I believe this is unfair to the low bidder who bid with us in good faith.
And I want to well, Mr. Rawls, you got the floor next.
I agree with 100% of what Terry said, but as a commissioner, I think it's in the public's best interest. I can only imagine that the person that filed the protest would have come in at a lower price, maybe a local bidder for all we know, because that restriction wasn't on them. You know, I've been on both sides of the table, and it really hurts when you sharpen your pencil and you get your best number in, and then, like with the award of the EOC warehouse, we were low bid, and then they came back out and said it's over budget, we're gonna have to rebid it, and I'm like, but wait a minute, our number's on the street, and that's exactly what happened. People chased that number. I didn't even rebid the second round, but, and I think we'll probably see higher prices because petroleum's gone up, but I can guarantee you that there's escalation or clauses in that to prevent people from paying extra anyway. So I think this is what's needed to be done. Hopefully, was this by any chance a local bidder that was restricted by the 100,000, 250?
Yes.
Yes,
So I'm 10 times more apt to say yes, let's get it done.
but as was others.
Yeah.
So the issue with this particular protest is that we issued a solicitation. You can't hear me? Now can you hear me?
Yes.
The issue with this particular protest is that we issued a solicitation and then during the award process, changed the rules on the vendors.
Right.
Which
You
is
changed the bid
equally
process.
unfair as to having prices in the public record as to where they are. So I understand both sides of where you are, but in reviewing with Rich and in reviewing the letter received and in reviewing the circumstances, it is my recommendation to reject and to restart. If you would like to do something that changes the bid in a more material aspect. And we may have done that just by definition of removing the FDOT certifications. So if we remove them in totality, it may be that whereas we started with a pool of 5 that were interested last time, we might start with a pool of 15 this time, which is going to make a material difference in the responses received, regardless of whether or not everybody knows the bids.
So the person who initiated the protest, that grounds that they initiated on is that the original bidder wasn't ever qualified to start with, that we made him qualified after when we changed.
Yes.
Well, that's probably a valid protest. That's why I'm asking it. I'm trying to figure, I haven't been able to talk to her about this because she wouldn't answer any questions because she felt like that it was a violation of what she needed to do. I was aware there was a protest, but I haven't been able to ask anything, so I'm not, that's
Right.
why I'm having to ask these rudimentary
Well,
questions here.
and for your information, our local ordinance, the protest procedure states that when the protest is received, first I review it for its validity. If I am not able to reach amicable resolution, then it goes to Administrator Suggs, and basically I defend my position, they
Yeah,
defend
I
theirs. and
understood
then
that. I'm not upset at all. I understood when you told me that day
Right.
that through the chain of command, I can't hear this because it would come back unless I'm in front of the whole board when I'm
Correct.
hearing it. So I was fine with that. I'm not upset even a little bit, but that's why I'm having to ask these questions
Right.
that I couldn't ask you
Right.
previously. And so basically, we made it, in the original bid, we made it part of the bid package that you had to be DOT certified over 100,000. And multiple projects that we ended up letting were over the 100,000 per project, which is, I think, how we were looking at it.
That's correct.
And so we waived the DOT because it was 18 different projects, even though some of them were over the 100,000. And so we probably did violate the deal by allowing somebody to bid that normally we would have thrown the bid out.
Well, so it's even a little more complex than that. Our current certification states 100, the then clause stated FDOT certification was required if you hit a cumulative total of 100,000.
So it's cumulative, not per project.
That's correct. So any any combination of the roads in there, which one road we have on there right now is $100,000. So and then when we brought it to workshop, to award it in totality was a couple of $1 million, and that would have all gone to a non-FDOT certified prime or subprime. They did not have either qualifications. So that is where we drew the protest.
So basically, this is one of those situations where we created a problem trying to do the right thing. We created a problem that we didn't see.
I believe that to be the case.
Okay.
Okay, well, what do you need from us to
Hang
do
on,
that?
there's still
Okay.
two. Mr. Adams,
I shut
okay, Mr.
I think you've
Pickens, and then
answered,
I have a comment.
yeah, I think you've answered, you made it a little more clear. So we created this problem,
Yes, sir.
basically, I guess.
Well,
Unintentionally. We're trying to
Right. No,
unintentionally
absolutely.
understand that.
Unintended consequences, yeah.
okay,
Okay.
I have a question. Because I've been sitting here for 7 years, and I've been fussing about FDOT requirements on county road. And I don't like it. I think we can build to FDOT standards, but we've kind of set those limits. So my question to you right now, we did this 2 weeks ago. We changed the per item to 250,000. Do we have a cumulative on that too?
Well, when you changed it, that was your cumulative total. Your project total was 200, you took it from $100,000 in cumulative total, and that is
We took
per,
it to 250,000 per project, per project.
so,
250 per project and not DOT certified.
okay, but per project in dirt to pave would be, dirt to pave is a project, unless you're gonna make it per segment, which,
That's what I intended to make it, per segment.
Chairman, my question would be, dirt to pave is really the only project that we have that fits into this complexity. Based on what I have heard from you all, what you have directed staff to do, my recommendation would be to simply remove the FDOT certification from the dirt to pave project entirely.
I've been saying that for years. I agree.
Well, I don't have,
Okay, so I'm done with my comments. Mr. Turner, you're next, and then Mr. Adams. And you're lighting up, so I don't know what's going on. Jacob, we're going crazy up here.
Jacob probably did that to me. I don't really have a problem with this either, but I think that if we're not careful, we're gonna have more unintended consequences by completely removing it. I think that if we're gonna do this, remove the DOT, that we leave it in there, that the stuff is done to DOT specifications.
right.
And, wait a minute, I'm not done, sir. And we need to hire a third-party person that's a quality control guy, because the county can't live out there full-time, daylight to dark, unless I'm missing something. We need to hire an independent quality control guy to go watch these paving and make sure that the thicknesses are right, the mixtures are right, everything that's done on quality control. There's companies out there that do that. I know, believe me, I know. And so I think that as part of this, and I don't know that you have to tell the people in the bid, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to say, we are gonna have a quality control person on this project. And then if Mr. Troxel decides it's in-house or outside or whatever, there's got to be a quality control person on this job to make sure that they don't do it. Because you're gonna have little guys that's got a small paving machine and a 5-yard dump truck that are trying to go pave 1-block roads here, because you're allowing them to bid any portion of the contract that they wanna bid on.
And funding for that comes out of the project line?
Yeah, it'd have to. Somebody's got to watch it. Somebody has got to watch it. I don't believe we have a full-blown qualified quality control guy in-house, do we, Mike?
You just retired.
Yeah.
So the answer is, no, sir, we don't.
So there's companies that do it. I mean, AE's, Engineering, the different one, there's companies that do this, that do just this. Universal, that's right. There's multiple ones. So I think that if we're gonna do this, I think that that needs to be part of it. If we're gonna remove the DOT, we're gonna have to require that we have a qualified quality control person on the job. I think we're gonna have to do that, even if we've got to hire them from out, because that person's gonna be hard to replace. So it may be we have to do it outside. That needs, I don't know if that needs to be part of the bid, but I think it needs to be a statement in there that there will be a quality control person on that project.
As administration, I will tell you, I agree with you 100%, and we've already thought down that kind of road. I'll steal a phrase I've heard a lot here today. We're all kind of thinking on the same page, and so we'll certainly look into that. And if this is the type of project that we want to push that type of thought at, we'll certainly do
What
that.
you're fixing to find out when you're going through this process, when we completely eliminate the DOT process out or the certification out of it, you're gonna deal with a different type of sub. I don't wanna say a different class, nothing, just a different type of sub, a smaller, less, less sophisticated is a very good word. Just not as good at these type projects as what the larger people are. So there has to be somebody there to make sure that they're doing it the correct way and the county's not being taken, even if it's unintentional, being taken advantage of.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner.
Hang on,
Turner.
Mr. Adamsack has,
I'm good after hearing all that.
okay, go ahead, Mr.
I was just
Sullivan,
going
then
to
Mr.
say, Commissioner Chairman's absolutely, or Commissioner Turner is absolutely correct.
Not yet, sir, just hang your, I know
My
I'm
bad.
going from hero to zero,
But,
but it's.
in a previous position, we didn't have a public works department that the size of what we have here. And that was exactly the process that we used before, and it worked really well. So, given this opportunity, we'll take a look at it and see if we can't make it work here. And I think you're absolutely right. It gives someone on the ground to be there, to make sure that what we're paying for is exactly what we're getting, and DOT specifications can be followed,
He
mixes
needs
can
from
be
us to
followed.
get
Hang on,
there.
Mr. Ross.
Nothing, sir, I've already got it taken care of. We're
Not
good.
yet, you don't, hang on. Mr. Ross.
I just, I'm one of those subcontractors that have worked on large jobs where you're a lot less sophisticated, and you step on a job with Archer Western, and they come with a huge level of sophistication and $45,000 a day liquidated damage if you're late on a job. But, that doesn't mean that the smaller companies with less sophistication can't get the job done and perform just as well and deliver just as good a product. As a small business owner, as a small contractor, I'm in favor of that. I think everything we can do to spend the taxpayers' dollars better is to their advantage. We can, this morning we talked about St. John's Harbor. I guarantee you, they would love to have their roads paved, and they want it to be done right, but they don't need to be done like Highway 17 or 19, as far as that goes. So anything we can do to move this along would make me happy.
All right,
and
I
think
want
our
to make a
citizens.
statement. Because at the level I deal with sometimes with FDOT, that's one thing we ask them to remove is that third-party overseer because it drives the price up on certain contracts. And it prohibits small rural counties. Jeff, your light's not working. I completely shut this thing off. So I'll just remember that well, actually, it's working. Well, okay. So we asked them not to make small rural programs subject to that because it does drive the price up. Ashley Lake, $3.2 million. Started off at 1.6. Now, luckily, DOT finished that project for us. But I can tell you, we start trying to get that third-party person in here on a $265,000 road, that price of that road just went up. And that's what we're gonna be facing. We had a guy, I got the floor,
I know.
we had a guy that would go out there and look at that. We bought a boring machine not too long before you got here, Mr. Troxel. I get it, I hear you, okay?
Did you say a boring machine?
We did.
We bought a boring machine?
We bought a machine that we could go out there and
Coring.
coring machine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm not a road builder, but we bought that machine so we could verify what these contractors were putting down. I'm just gonna say this, we better be careful, we ought to be very careful about jumping out there and hiring a third party on these roads, because we all agreed early on, maybe the threshold wasn't that high, but we're gonna raise these prices up, and that's gonna be the unintended consequence. So I think Mr. Turner's been jumping up and down.
I was before him.
Oh, you were,
Yeah,
Mr.
so-
Ross?
All right.
Okay. Something,
Once upon a time, I worked for Universal Engineering as a threshold inspector. At the same time, on some jobs that I worked on, we would have concrete and asphalt technicians. Somebody like Universal could give us an annual contract where we pay by the hour. And we negotiate up front. I want to say it was about $85 or $90 an hour for my services at the time. Concrete technicians and asphalt technicians were around $50 an hour. That's the ones that go in and verify the mix design and verify that per the plans and specifications, you get what you paid for. Am I correct? Okay. Then if you want to have, they also have the people that are certified in placement of asphalt, same folks. So they can drive up in a truck and you can say, I want them out here for 3 hours watching these guys lay. That wouldn't be unbearable.
Okay.
And we could have
I can
an
live with
ongoing contract on an annual basis with whoever.
Okay, Mr. Turner, you have the floor.
Okay. The only way that a third party and quality control person will make it go up the bid is if the person doing it was planning on cheating you. If you wanna lower your prices, lower how much asphalt, lower what they do, lower the amount of base, lower whatever. But if you're paying somebody for 1.5 inches of 9.5 asphalt or whatever, somebody's got to make sure that they're putting 9.5 or 12.5 asphalt. If you don't, they're not. They're gonna put down 3/4 of an inch if nobody's watching them. And then when you catch them, they're gonna say, oh, excuse me, I guess my machine got a little tight right in there. Okay, whatever. So if you got to have a quality control person, you just got to. If you don't, they're cheating you. That's the only reason it would go up in price, is they were planning on trying to use less asphalt than what you said. All right, what do you guys need from us?
Got one more comment before we go to that. Mr. Adams,
I agree, but I think we need to get our in-house person. I know it's gonna be a tough person to find, but we definitely need to start pursuing that.
I'm on board
But
with
we
that.
definitely need to have something in place for inspecting of all these projects in the interim until we find that hire.
I'm on board with that, but I think he's gonna have one hell of a time finding somebody to replace his quality control person, because they are in very high demand at the present time, for a lot more money than what the county's willing to pay.
so I think
We'll
What
do the
do
best we
you
can to
need
get
from
that
us?
taken care of.
Just say, okay, we're on board with you.
you're gonna come back with some prices.
This commissioner's on board with you. I'm tired of talking about it.
I'm on.
On board with what?
We're letting them do what she wants to do.
Rebid it. Throw it out, rebid it.
Throw it out and rebid it.
With the,
Without the DOT requirement.
Should we discuss at our next transportation workshop, the 250,000, make sure that we're 100% clear on that? Or can you guys bring us something in writing that we can talk at the next workshop?
I believe that would be a very wise.
I liked your idea of not having requirements on dirt to pave. That seems like a viable solution.
say that one more time?
Not having the DOT requirements on dirt to pave projects. This is a general rule.
In your direction.
Right.
But on other ones.
And that eliminates this and
Yeah, we still got to have a QC on there.
shit,
Just telling
and
you.
everything.
Them guys will make it a 1/2 inch thick.
All right, do we have any public comments on miscellaneous items? Anybody from the public want to speak on miscellaneous items? Hearing none, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.